Welcome to the world of science fiction stories, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe my channel. Enjoy the listening. Human mechanic save an alien Leopard chained to an alien sinking ship, but he didn't expect what. The distress signal had been pulsing for hours, a weak but persistent beacon cutting through the endless void of space. Layla Quinn had ignored the first few alerts. False alarms were common in the uncharted sectors where old wrecks sent ghostly signals long after their crews had perished. But something about this one felt different. It wasn't automated, it wasn't repeating in a calculated loop, it was pleading. She leaned forward in her cockpit, watching the readout blink across her screen, a single, struggling pulse. Whatever was down there was barely clinging on. Layla rolled her shoulders as she adjusted the Nebula Whisperer's course. "Fine," she muttered. "Let's see what kind of trouble you are." The planet below wasn't in any official records from her scanners. It was a water world, oceans stretching unbroken across its surface, interrupted only by jagged clusters of metallic debris that had once been ships, stations, civilizations, a battle's remains, a forgotten colony. She had no idea. As the Nebula Whisperer descended through the thick cloud cover, lightning crackled against the hull, the turbulence rocking the ship like a toy caught in a child's grasp. Layla gritted her teeth, guiding her ship lower, threading between storm clouds that churned like living things. Then, through the mist and rain, she saw it, a massive alien vessel, half sunken in the raging sea, its metal skeleton groaning against the waves. She tightened her grip on the controls. This was no ordinary wreck. The architecture was ancient, its hull marked with glyphs that pulsed faintly as if still alive. The distressed beacon flickered from its highest tower, blinking weakly, fighting against the storm. Then something moved. Layla's breath hitched as her ship's lights cut through the downpour, illuminating a shape on the deck, a creature bound in chains, thrashing against the rising tide. Not a person, not a machine, a leopard, but not one from Earth. Its fur shimmered under the rain, a deep obsidian hue flecked with glowing silver spots that pulsed like the night sky. Massive, muscular, with eyes like molten gold, it clawed at its restraints, snarling as the water rose higher. It was drowning. Layla didn't hesitate. She punched the hover lock, grabbed her gear, and dove into the storm. The ocean's cold hit like a physical blow, shocking the breath from Layla's lungs as she plunged into the water. Her suit adjusted quickly, environmental controls kicking in, but the waves fought her, the wind howled overhead, rain slashing across the surface, and beneath it all, the groaning wreck sank deeper. She kicked hard, cutting through the water, her head breaking the surface near the wreckage. The Leopard was still struggling, its massive paws scraping against the deck, trying to find purchase, but the chains held fast, heavy links of alien metal wrapped around its limbs, pinning it in place. Layla grabbed the edge of the wreckage and pulled herself up onto the unstable platform. She barely had time to catch her breath before the Leopard's eyes snapped to hers. It froze for a moment, she wasn't sure if it was shocked by her presence or if it was studying her. There was intelligence in those molten gold eyes, something that recognized her, as if it had been waiting for someone, anyone, to come. Layla pulled her plasma cutter from her belt and stepped closer. "Easy, big guy," she muttered, her voice barely audible over the storm. "I don't bite. Don't make me regret saving your hide." The Leopard let out a low, guttural sound, not quite a growl, but not trust either. Leah crouched beside the first chain, fingers running over the strange metal. It wasn't just steel or alloy. It hummed with symbols carved along its surface, glowing faintly, reacting to her touch. These weren't just chains, they were bindings. Layla swallowed hard, setting her plasma cutter against the first shackle. The blade flared, sparks flying as it fought against the material, resisting like something didn't want it to be broken. The Leopard snarled as if it felt it too. Layla gritted her teeth. "Come on," she hissed, pressing harder. The metal shattered, the second chain snapped. The air changed, a deep, low rumble vibrated through the wreckage, through the water, through the planet itself. Layla's pulse hammered. The ship was reacting. The Leopard lunged forward, warring hard against the remaining chains, as if suddenly realizing it had a chance at freedom. It snapped its jaws, slamming its weight into the deck, muscles rippling. Layla didn't waste another second. She moved to the next shackle, cutting through as fast as she could. Another snap, another pulse. The storm above twisted, lightning arcing unnaturally, forming strange fractal patterns. Layla's gut churned. She wasn't just cutting chains, she was undoing something ancient. Then, the final shackle broke. The Leopard roared, and a wave of golden energy exploded outward, knocking Layla back as the ship lurched beneath them. Then the ocean rose, not just in waves, not just in water, but in something else entirely, something waking up. The wreck shifted, groaning like a living thing. As the last chain shattered, Layla barely had time to react before a pulse of golden energy surged outward, knocking her onto her back. Sparks crackled along the deck, the strange symbols carved into the ship's metal flaring to life, burning with power that had been dormant for who knows how long. She coughed, blinking through the rain, her mind spinning from the blast. The Leopard was free. She could see it standing tall now, muscles coiled, its luminescent silver spots pulsing in rhythm with the ship's unnatural hum. Its golden eyes flickered toward her, and for a moment she swore she saw something more than just relief, something recognizing her. Then the ocean moved. It wasn't a wave, it wasn't the normal pull of gravity dragging the sinking ship deeper into the abyss, it was something beneath them. The water roiled, bubbling as if boiling from the inside, twisting into spirals that stretched unnaturally far. Layla's breath hitched. She had seen anomalies before, gravitational distortions, time fractures in deep space, but this was different. This wasn't something broken, this was something waking up. The Leopard's ears flattened, its tail flicking, its body tensed like a bowstring, it knew what was coming. Layla forced herself up, fingers slipping on the wet metal. "We need to move now," she said. The Leopard growled, turning toward the edge of the wreck, its massive paws gripping the unstable deck. It hesitated for a split second, then suddenly whipped around, lunging toward her with speed that sent Layla stumbling back. For a brief moment, she thought it was attacking her. Then the ship cracked open beneath her feet, a massive claw, black as the abyss, tore through the wreck, splitting the metal apart like paper. Layla had no time to think, no time to scream. The Leopard slammed into her, knocking her clear of the collapsing wreck. The world turned upside down. One moment Layla had been standing on the deck, fighting against the storm, her mind racing to process what was happening. The next, she was falling, the weight of gravity yanking her down into the churning sea. Her oxygen tank screamed a warning in her ear, flashing red across her visor, but all she could focus on was the thing rising from the wreckage above her. It was not an animal, it was not a machine, it was both and neither, something that shifted as it moved, tendrils twisting into jagged limbs, its form never staying the same for long enough to understand it. Eyes, too many eyes, flared open across its writhing mass, locking onto her like a predator that had finally caught its prey. Leah kicked hard, propelling herself deeper, trying to get away, but the current was shifting, the ocean pulling her in. Her lungs burned. The pressure of the deep squeezed her, suit alarms wailing in her ears. She had seconds before a flash of silver and gold cut through the dark. The Leopard dove after her, its body slicing through the water with inhuman speed. Its massive paws reached her in an instant, its claws wrapping around the front of her suit, not to tear, not to wound, but to pull her free. Layla barely had time to process it before the Leopard kicked upward, dragging her with it. They shot toward the surface, the thing below lashing after them, tendrils stretching, trying to catch what had escaped. The water turned violent, spirals of golden and black energy twisting around them, the wreckage breaking apart beneath the force of something ancient, something not meant to be disturbed. The Leopard didn't slow, it knew the way out. They broke through the surface, gasping into the open air. Rain lashed down, lightning forking across the sky, but the storm felt different now, as if the very planet itself had been thrown off balance. Layla coughed, her body shaking, her limbs aching from the sheer force of the escape. The leopard released her, paddling effortlessly beside her in the waves. It wasn't trying to flee anymore, it was watching her, waiting. Layla took a deep breath, forcing her mind to catch up. She had freed the leopard, she had unsealed whatever, was below them, and now nothing would ever be the same again. Layla clung to the wreckage as the storm churned around her, chest heaving with the effort to stay afloat. Her suit's oxygen reserves were stabilizing, but her mind still reeled from what had just happened. The thing beneath them, it was something beyond her understanding, something old and hungry. But she wasn't dead because of it. The leopard swam beside her, its sleek form cutting through the water with unnatural kinetic energy. Its bioluminescent stripes pulsed like a heartbeat, slow and rhythmic, as if sensing the world around it. It wasn't panicked, it wasn't afraid, it was watching. Layla inhaled sharply, forcing herself to move. Her ship, the Nebula Whisperer, was still hovering above her, its emergency beacon blinking through the storm. She tapped the communicator strap to her wrist. "Ship, initiate retrieval." The Whisperer responded instantly, a loud mechanical whir filled the air as the retrieval drone dropped from the ship's underbelly, scanning the waters before launching a harness toward her. Layla reached for it, wrapping the strap around her chest, securing it tight. Then she looked at the leopard. Its golden eyes met hers, unblinking. She hesitated, every instinct in her body screamed that this was not just an animal, that this was something more, something aware. The thing beneath the waves had been sealed away for a reason, and the leopard had been chained to keep it there. The retrieval drone beeped, waiting for her command. The storm above was still raging, but it felt different now, like the very air was holding its breath. Layla made her choice. She reached out her hand, the leopard hesitated, then slowly it took it. The moment its paw touched hers, the sky split open. A blast of golden energy erupted from the ocean, spiraling into the clouds, tearing through the storm like a blade. Thunder screamed across the planet as the clouds twisted in unnatural patterns, light bending and shifting in ways Layla didn't understand. Her ship's alarms wailed in response, readings off the charts showed gravitational fields unstable, an energy signature not found anywhere in the known universe, and then, just as suddenly as it had begun, everything went silent. Leah barely had time to register what had happened before the retrieval drone yanked her upward, lifting her and the leopard out of the water. They soared through the air, rain whipping against them, as the ship's cargo bay doors slid open the second they landed inside. Layla rolled onto her side, gasping for breath. The leopard landed beside her, fluid and graceful, shaking the water from its obsidian fur. Layla sat up, heart still hammering. The storm had vanished, not faded, not drifted away, it had been ripped apart, the clouds scattering as if something had forced them to flee. The ocean below was still shifting, rippling with the aftershocks of whatever had just changed. Layla turned to the leopard, wiping the rain from her face. "What the hell are you?" she whispered. And for the first time, the leopard spoke, not with words, not with sound, but in a voice that resonated through her mind, something ancient and familiar all at once. "I am the last." The silence in the ship was deafening. Layla's heart pounded in her ears as she stared at the leopard, her mind scrambling to process what had just happened. It hadn't spoken aloud, its mouth had never moved, but she had heard it, not as a voice, not as language, but as meaning, something woven directly into her thoughts, bypassing everything she understood about communication. The leopard blinked slowly, its golden eyes steady as if waiting for her to accept what she already knew. This wasn't just an animal, it had never been just an animal. Layla exhaled shakily, rubbing a hand down her face. "You're the last," she repeated, more to herself than anything else. She could still feel the echo of its words in her skull, an aftershock of whatever it had just done to her. The leopard didn't move, but the meaning behind its silence pressed into her thoughts. Yes. Layla swallowed the last of her doubts as the ship hummed softly, its systems running silent diagnostics. But the leopard didn't answer right away. Instead, it stood, padding forward on silent paws, moving past her toward the main console. Its body was massive up close, larger than any terrestrial big cat she had ever seen, but it carried itself with something beyond instinct. It knew where it was, knew what it was doing. The air around it hummed with an energy Layla could barely perceive. Her ship's scanners flared to life, golden runes flickered across the control panels, not from the ship itself, but from the Leopard's body. The symbols that had been carved into its chains, the same ones etched into the sinking wreck, were now glowing across its fur. The meaning pressed into Layla's mind again, a name not in words, but in feeling, in memory, like something she had always known but had never spoken, a name so old that time itself had tried to erase it. Lee's breath hitched as it took shape in her thoughts. Solace. The Leopard's eyes flared, its bioluminescent markings rippled like liquid gold. It was its name, and it had been waiting to be spoken again. Layla felt something shift inside her, something that had nothing to do with the ship, the storm, or even the creature standing before her. She had been traveling alone for years, never staying in one place, never letting anything or anyone tether her to a greater purpose, and yet, somehow, she knew she wasn't alone anymore. The Leopard, Solace, tilted its head slightly, watching her, not with curiosity, not with expectation, but with acceptance. Leah exhaled. Guess we've got a lot to talk about. Solace blinked, and this time, when its voice pressed into her mind, the words weren't just meaning, they were a promise. Yes, we do. Layla sat in the cockpit of the Nebula Whisperer, fingers tapping restlessly against the console as she stared at the swirling data scrolling across her screens. Her ship's sensors were still trying to make sense of what had happened down on that cursed ocean planet, the sudden energy surge that had torn apart the storm, the impossible gravitational distortions, and the Leopard that had spoken into her mind. She turned her gaze toward Solace, who sat calmly near the navigation controls, his obsidian fur still faintly pulsing with golden light. He was watching her, those molten gold eyes unblinking, patient as if waiting for her to process the truth she already knew. She swallowed hard. So, she said, forcing herself to sound casual, you're not just a big cat, huh? Solace exhaled, the sound closer to a thought than a breath. No. Layla ran a hand through her damp hair, exhaling sharply. Figures, my luck's always been weird. She leaned forward, scanning the star map again, eyes flicking to the coordinates that had appeared the moment Solace touched the ship's controls. And this, she asked, motioning to the holographic projection. This isn't just some random location, is it? Solace didn't answer immediately. Instead, Layla felt the response before she heard it, a weight pressing into her mind, not forceful, not invasive, but ancient, woven with meaning, memories that weren't hers. A world bathed in twin suns, its surface a vast stretch of golden plains dotted with towering spires of stone covered in ancient carvings. Leopards like Solace, their fur glowing like constellations, moving as one, watching over something hidden beneath the planet's crust, a guardian race bound not by war or conquest, but by a duty older than recorded history. Then fire, chains, a betrayal so deep it cracked the very foundation of their world, and then nothing. The memory shattered, leaving Layla gasping, gripping the edge of her seat as she blinked away the sudden rush of visions. She wasn't sure how long she'd been caught in it, but her heart was pounding like she had just run a marathon. Solace watched her, unblinking. Leah forced herself to breathe, her throat dry. That was your home, wasn't it? The golden energy along Solace's stripes dimmed just slightly. Yes. Layla let the weight of that settle in. She had spent years drifting, moving from one scrap job to another, never tied to anything, never belonging anywhere, and now she was staring at a creature who had once had a purpose, a home, a place worth protecting, only to have it all ripped away. And now something is calling us back to the wreckage of it. Leah exhaled. Guess that means we're going. Solace met her gaze. Yes. He input the coordinates, locked in their course, and engaged the ship's thrusters. Whatever lay ahead, they were facing it together. The journey through hyperspace was quiet. Layla had never been afraid of silence before. Space had a way of swallowing noise, making solitude feel like a permanent companion, but this silence wasn't empty. It was waiting. Solace sat beside her, silent, his golden eyes fixed on the swirling tunnel of hyperspace outside the viewport. Layla had stopped questioning how he understood things she hadn't told him, how his presence in her ship felt like it had always been meant to be there. When the ship finally dropped out of hyperspace, the starfield around them shifted, revealing their destination, a dead world. Layla's breath hitched as she took in the planet below. It was just as she had seen in the vision, but ruined. The golden plains were now cracked and scorched, the great stone spire shattered, broken remnants of a civilization long buried beneath the sands. But something was still there. Her ship's scanners flickered, struggling to read the energy fluctuations rippling across the surface. She frowned, adjusting the settings, filtering through the interference, and then she saw it, a structure, not ruins, not wreckage, a tower untouched by time, standing alone amidst the devastation, a single beacon pulsing faintly as if waiting for someone to return. Layla's pulse quickened. "That's what we're here for, isn't it?" Solace didn't need to answer, she could feel it. She adjusted the ship's thrusters, guiding them toward the surface, her heart hammering in her chest. This wasn't just some relic of the past, this was a message. Something or someone had left this behind, waiting, calling, and now, after centuries of silence, Solace had finally come home. The ship's thrusters sent dust spiraling across the cracked plains as the Nebula Whisperer descended, settling in the shadow of the lone tower. The air shimmered with heat, but it wasn't just from the planet's harsh climate. There was an energy here, ancient and waiting, humming just beneath the surface. Layla kept one hand on her holster as she stepped out of the ship, her boots crunching against the brittle ground. She wasn't expecting a fight, but something about this place felt wrong, not hostile, just unfinished. Solace moved beside her, his massive form graceful despite the heavy air pressing down on them. The golden stripes along his fur flickered as they approached the structure, pulsing in a rhythm Layla recognized now, not random, not instinctual. It was a language, it was responding to whatever lay inside. As they reached the entrance, Layla hesitated, her fingers brushing against the rough stone. The symbols carved into the archway weren't just decorative, they shifted, reconfiguring themselves as Solace stepped closer. The stone groaned, ancient mechanisms grinding to life. The doors opened. Beyond them, the air changed. It wasn't stale like a long-abandoned tomb, nor was it lifeless, it was preserved, untouched by time. A deep corridor stretched ahead, lined with smooth obsidian walls, the same golden inscriptions from Solace's chains etched into every surface. Solace exhaled softly, stepping forward. He wasn't surprised, he had always known he would return here. Layla followed, boots clicking against the cold floor. The deeper they went, the more the air vibrated with a presence she couldn't see, something watching. The walls pulsed in response to their movement, each step unlocking more of the chamber's dormant energy. Then they reached the heart of it, a central chamber, domed and vast, with a single pedestal at its core. Floating above it was a sphere of blinding white light, tendrils of golden energy threading outward like roots burrowing into the walls. The moment Solace entered the light, it reacted, twisting, stretching, awakening. Layla felt it hit her like a shock wave, memories, no, messages exploded into her mind. She saw a great betrayal, a war fought in the void, guardians like Solace standing against an unseen force. She saw them fall one by one, their bodies bound in chains forged from reality itself. And then Solace, the last one, the only one not slain but sealed away, trapped to ensure the thing they had fought remained locked beneath the abyss. Layla staggered, breath ragged. She turned to Solace. "They didn't just betray you, they wiped out your entire kind." The golden glow along his fur darkened, as if absorbing the weight of those words. "Yes." Layla clenched her jaw. Then whoever did this, they might still be out there. The light above them shifted, revealing the final message, a warning, a call to arms. The enemy had never truly been defeated, and now, with souls free, they would come again. The moment the final vision faded, the chamber shook. Layla snapped her head up as the golden veins along the walls flared violently, the ancient mechanisms around them screeching back to life. She could feel it, a disturbance, something pushing against the fabric of reality itself. They had been found. A deep, rumbling growl came from Solace, his golden eyes locked on the entrance behind them. He felt it too. Layla pulled her weapon, even though she knew this wasn't a fight she could win with a gun. The air around them grew heavy, thick with static, as if something was pressing in from the other side. Then the gate they had come through shattered, a tear in space ripped open, jagged and unnatural, revealing a void darker than the abyss they had escaped from. And something stepped through it. It wasn't a being, it wasn't a creature, it was a shadow given form, its edges flickering between solid and fluid. Its presence bent the air itself, where its gaze fell, the stone beneath it cracked, the golden energy dimming against its arrival. Layla's throat went dry. The same force that had betrayed Solace's kind was still here, still watching, still hunting. Solace stepped forward, his fur blazing with golden fire, his stance no longer defensive, no longer chained. He was no longer the last survivor of a forgotten war, he was the first warrior of a new one. Layla tightened her grip on her weapon, pulse hammering.